Chairman Amalia Shatella, who's on the ground right now in St. Louis, Missouri. I just want to take a moment to introduce and appreciate Chairman Amalia Shatella because, part of what we understand, at least for me and, in the African People's Socialist Party, and as a, follower and learner of African internationalism is the question of colonialism. And, we can look at all of these struggles that we are seeing, as looking at the UN, ICE, even at these as forms of the state, of the colonial state, the military occupation, these wars, the ideological war, narco-terrorism, all of this is happening under the colonial mode of production. And to help deepen that question for us and to build upon what we've heard today and to stand in solidarity with that, I do want to turn it over to you, Chairman, and appreciate you for being on with us and want to salute your leadership in this anti-colonial struggle. Uhuru.
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 First of all, I really would like to express my deepest, most profound appreciation for all of the presenters who have preceded me to the Hands Off Uhuru Latin America front that we feel it's extremely important to build. And in this event is expressing itself and really trying to contribute to the consolidation of what we will call, have been talking about in terms of an international anti-colonial human rights movement that covers the globe. But we have a great start with the Latin America front that we are already developing. I think that I'm so appreciative of what Comrade Benjamin has just laid out. So much of helping us to understand the nature of the social system that we're dealing with and the kind of contradictions that are articulated throughout this social system. And of course, all of the comrades from Venezuela who have spoken up to now, talking about the terror that has been waged, and make no mistake about it, while the possibility of some kind of military strike, as Comrade Jesus has just talked about, and as compañera Andreina Chavez has spoken of, some kind of action is a real possibility in terms of attacking Venezuela. On the one hand, they've already killed more than 70 people, just murdered them, and that's all it was, murder. Yeah. And it was murder because they had the ability to do it, not because there was any legitimate rationale for it. They just had the ability to do it. And this is the history of the creation of this social system and even this arena that we characterize as the Americas. So they've already killed so many people. There's a good possibility, and I've heard other so-called experts on this matter talk about the possibility of targeted murder of particular leaders inside Venezuela. And Comrade Jesus and Andreina wanted us to be aware that no matter what happens in that regard, the Venezuelan revolution will live on. And that's probably true. I mean, I really believe that to be the case. But I think that part of what we are witnessing is a form of counterinsurgency that includes terror. And the objective with the battleships and the U.S. troops and the announcement that there are CIA agents in Venezuela now with the objective of overturning that government, the $50 million bounty. All of this is terror, part of a counterinsurgency that utilizes every form of struggle that includes things like ideological and information and economic warfare. And of course, ultimately, military war. This is what counterinsurgency is about. That's what we're looking at. So I think I just wanted to recognize that. And I think it's also important for us to recognize that America itself is a settler colony. And much of what we're looking at in the world is a world that has been created by settler colonialism. When you look at all of the Americas, you're talking about, and not just the Americas, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the United States, settler colonies, and they've become extraordinarily wealthy as a consequence of what they've taken from those whom they've colonized and the lands that they have stolen. But the other thing that is important to recognize is that when you have a settler colonialism, there's no respect for the land. There's no respect for the territory. They have no history, no relationship to it. The Venezuelans do. The indigenous people in the concentration camps that they call Indian reservations have a relationship. They're for generations, going back more longer than what America has existed, more than what many of the European states, most of the European states have existed. There's a relationship to the land. There's a relationship to the animals on the land, to everything on the land. But since there is no relationship by the settlers, they destroy it all, kill the buffaloes, destroy the environment. It doesn't matter because they have no history with it. So they're settlers with no respect for the land and the people. And they can't have respect for the people because the existence of the people actually constitute evidence of the crime of colonialism. And so to have the people there is to be a manifestation of a criminal society. And I call it criminal society, and it's a misnomer because it's not a crime what they have done to us, because the colonizer makes the law and says what is crime and what is not crime. So it's not a crime in that sense, because colonialism itself is illegitimate. So the colonizer makes the law, but the system is illegitimate. So they make laws that oppress and kill people and make war on a regular basis. And I just think it's really important for us to acknowledge that, and to acknowledge also that America is a settler colony. Yes. There's no redeeming qualities that you can find here. And so we're looking at a society, a global society that has its immediate origin in the theft of the land and resources of the people, slavery, genocide, and what have you. And its existence is based on what it steals from other peoples, other lands, other countries. And sometimes if you have like a settler colony in the United States, you have an internal colony on top of that. Same thing is true and like in New Zealand, Australia, you have internal colonies within these settler colonies. And so they steal the labor, the value of the labor of the people who they have colonized inside these settler colonies, et cetera. So they have tremendous amounts of wealth that they have accrued through this process. And so every struggle for people to be free is a threat to that wealth, a threat to what they have stolen, a threat to their very existence as a settler colony. And they are extraordinarily desperate. And the thing that makes them desperate is because they have no history, no relationship to the land other than this recent period of stealing it and what have you. But they have no real enduring relationship to Europe, where they've come from. So it's like a really treacherous kind of place that they're located in that creates a tremendous amount of desperation. So most of them have no relationship to France, to England, or even to Spain, even though Spain, the Spanish colonialism, as has already been talked about, there are more people who speak Spanish outside of Spain than in Spain itself because of Spanish colonialism. Same thing is true of French, more people, and the same thing is true of English. So all of us speak English, French, Spanish, and whatever, not because we are English, French, or Spanish, but because those are the ones who colonized us. Those are the ones who stole everything, and sometimes they stole our names, our culture, and everything that we've got. So you have a situation where you have, we believe in the existence of a society that is comprised of an economic base. And in this world, an economic base, and in this country, it's an economic base on slavery and colonialism. And make no mistake about that. It's slavery and colonialism. I know that the fairy tales that you read that they call history, especially within the United States, makes an argument against that, but slavery and colonialism is the foundation, is the economic base of this society. And any society is comprised of an economic base. You can't have a society without an economy, without an economic base, but without a way that the society accrues what it needs to feed, clothe, and house itself, what it needs to produce and reproduce life. But along with an economic base, there is also another component that I think is really important for us to understand, and that is the superstructure. And the superstructure is the ideas. It's the institutions like legal institutions and things like that we see. The superstructure is what creates the nigger. The superstructure is what creates the wetback. The superstructure is the thing that has come about to deny the reality of the existence, the legitimacy, the humanity of those who from whom it steals all of its resources. And that's why what you see is what should normally be a great unity between the workers of the world, if you will, workers in the United States and workers in Europe and the African and colonized peoples around the world. It doesn't exist like that. Because the real class question is concentrated in the colonial question. And it's the position that's taken on colonialism. It's unity with the colonized peoples of the world that will give identity to the true workers of the world. Because the reality is that what we're looking at now and what is happening with the U.S. and Venezuela is an attempt to hold back history. It is an attempt to lock history in this particular place. It is an attempt to prevent the future from occurring. And the future that we are looking for, the thing that makes progress in the world is for freedom, is for liberation. And it's a future of the past, of slavery, of colonialism, and what have you. And those who are trying to hold that in place, to lock us into the place of slavery and colonialism, they will do anything necessary, anything possible to make that happen. Comrade Andrena was talking about how it's so important for us to tell the truth about Venezuela, tell the truth about Palestine. And I do believe we should use every medium that we have to do that. But more importantly, I think what we have to do is tell the truth about the United States. And the United States, even as it's talking about killing people who are supposed to be criminals in Venezuela, they have put National Guard through African communities in this country. They have had meetings with the military and the head of state of this country in the United States has talked about using the African communities in this country as training grounds for federal troops, violating even their own laws in order to do that. They're supposed to be fighting crime by putting federal troops in our communities, etc. They have taken in St. Louis, where I'm located now, something like 2,000 acres, pushed Africans off the land to create this global, this spy center, this international geospatial spy center that controls every satellite that you see happening in the world, and all the drones that's killing people, even in Russia, killing people in various places around the world. They are putting that in African communities. They're uprooting Africans from homes and what have you to make that happen. In the name, they'll give you a job, they say, but that's a lie. Because even to get a job at this entity that they're creating, this spy center, requires one to come out clean on their intelligence investigation. And I don't know an African who has not himself been imprisoned, doesn't have a relative who's been in prison, doesn't know somebody who's been in prison, doesn't live next door to somebody who's been in prison or on their way to prison. That's our reality. This is what they are telling us that we are supposed to be defending. That is to say, people who would go out and kill people in Venezuela or fight for that. So it's ridiculous. And we reject that totally. I want to respect I want to say that also a fundamental contradiction that we are looking at is the weakness of a revolutionary movement inside the United States. Because it should be necessary for the United States to be so busy covering its own ass that it wouldn't have the resources and times and intent and interest and desire and time to be attacking Venezuela or any other country out there in the world. And that's part of the problem here is the fact is an unwillingness to recognize that inside the United States there are colonies, the indigenous people. And when I say indigenous, I'm talking about all of the indigenous people. I'm talking about those in the concentration camps that they call Indian reservations, those in the concentration camps that they call barrios, those in the concentration camps that they call prisons, etc. These are indigenous people whose existence actually bespeak the nature of the social system that we live with and the oppression that we all have to deal with. So finally, we have fought for many years subsequent to the military defeat of the Black Revolution of the 1960s. We have fought for many years to bring our struggle back on track, to take it from this idealized version with this assumption that what we are fighting against is the ideas in white people's heads. What we are fighting against is to make white people like us, something to that effect. We fought that and continue to fight it every day. And the reality, of course, is that we are fighting against colonialism. We forced the colonial question back onto the agenda, even after what the U.S. was able to do with the assassinations, with the murders, with the genuine anti-colonial fighters of the 1960s, even after the incredible movement that we saw grow out of Cuba with the Africa, Asia, Latin America front that was consolidated, USPAL, the organization that came out of that, and the tremendous amount of murders that prevented that from doing the kinds of things that we needed it to do. But we saw colonized peoples coming together, to organize together, to end this relationship we have with a horrible, horrible system that gave rise to white power. And that's what it is. It called itself white power braggadocially. It called itself white power. It identified itself as white. And it characterized white as this glorious thing, as opposed to the rest of us and around the world. And the fact is, of course, that and so doing, they branded themselves. And I want to just say that we're looking at a colonial mode of production. So people are able to recognize colonial. They say inside Palestine, finally, we got them to say it's colonial question in Palestine. We've got them to say it's a colonial question in various places around the world. But what is really important for us, for Venezuela, for this whole movement, is to recognize that we're looking at colonialism as a mode of production. It is not simply a policy by a particular country. It is a mode of production. It is something that came into existence with the development of what people refer to as this whole social system. It came into existence with a process that started 600 years ago when Portugal made its incursion into Africa and began to capture Black people and disperse us around the world, creating the colonial project. So this is the first time you saw in history where there was a global economy that united the whole world in a single economy. That's where Venezuela comes from. You want to talk about how the current contradiction of Venezuela was no Venezuela before the colonial project, before the settlers stole African people and dispersed us around the world as colonized people and dropped us off in all of those places. But what they did also, when they dispersed us around the world at gunpoint, we're not like the Europeans who like to brag that they came to the United States and et cetera, looking for a better way of life and looking for a freedom, etc. We lost a better way of life. We lost freedom. And we've been fighting for a better way of life and for freedom ever since. And the people in Venezuela are fighting for that same better life. We are part of the same struggle, the same movement, the same blood, if you will, engaged in a struggle against white power that has been built on the backs of our oppression and the enslavement of our people, and it's time for it to end. So we just want to say that we are in profound solidarity with Venezuela and all of the oppressed peoples of the world. With the Palestinians who have been shamelessly murdered, this system has no conscience, has no shame. It kills people without shame. Murdering fisher persons in the middle of the Caribbean have no defense capacity. Raiding my home and the homes of our movement at 5 a.m. pre-dawn in the morning, threatening us with 15 years in prison for talking. This is not a powerful country where they say they will put you in prison for 15 years for talking. That's something about a fragile social system that can't stand even a discussion. That's why everybody's bugged. That's why there are cameras everywhere. So they want to make sure that you don't think the wrong thing, that you don't say the wrong thing, and the rest of that. Yeah. But the people will be free. Yeah. And it's our responsibility to make that happen. And right now, Venezuela is on the front line of that struggle, and we have to do everything we can to give solidarity to Venezuela against this war being made by this merciless, shameless, most oppressive, genocidal entity that has ever been on the planet Earth. They have to go out and get jobs for themselves, go to work for themselves, and stop trying to bleed the peoples of the world for all of our resources. We want everything back. Yeah. We want reparations. We want everything back. Everything that you've taken, we want it back with interest. So that's what I need to say. And I really want to express appreciation, hands off Uhuru, to this extraordinary front that we've opened up in Latin America and Uhuru.
Uhuru, Chairman. We build the U.S. front, yes, of the global anti-colonial revolution. Uhuru, build the Venezuela front, build the Latin America front, the Caribbean front. This is really powerful, Chairman. I hope we can use that statement and put that out. Uhuru. So there's a lot to be said, but we're going to move the agenda. And I'm gonna just do
one other thing, comrade, just one thing.
Yes.
We said a theme here for what we showed, that the revolution will not be televised.
Yes.
We also need to say the revolution will not be terrorized. Yeah. And I think that's a fundamental statement to make. Uhuru. Yeah.
Uhuru. The revolution will not be terrorized. Yes, Chairman. I unite.